the soundproof torture chambers. And well, I guess you'd say they would be the pitiful victims of a deliberate program of mass starvation. You know, it's actually hard to believe that these children, even down to age 2, were starved in this fashion in communist forced labor camps. Well, now the other example is this pamphlet entitled On the Morning of March 15th, and it consists of photographs and factual descriptions of the results of a communist terrorist raid in northern Angola on the morning of March 15, 1961. Over 200 Europeans and 300 Africans were murdered on that one day alone. Over 50 widely separated places along a 400-mile front were attacked almost simultaneously. In most places, every man, woman, child, and infant, every living creature, even the cats and the dogs, were killed in the most brutal and sadistic manner imaginable. Now, here are some of the less nauseating photographs, which hardly need description. You know, seeing that picture of the infant in the bassinet reminds me of one account which, forgive me, ladies, I must read, even though it sickens me to do so. A group of some 400 terrorists attacked the experimental farm at Mabridge. One of the few survivors of this attack, Manuel Lourenco Alves, relates what happened. The assault began at 6 in the morning, and all the houses on the farm, whether they belonged to Europeans, Africans, or mulattoes, were attacked simultaneously. The women were dragged out of their houses together with their children. In front of the mothers, the terrorists then proceeded to cut off the legs and arms of the children, and then started to play a grotesque game of football with the twitching bodies. The women and girls were then led away, stripped, raped, and cut up. Ladies and gentlemen, I've discussed these scenes and shown these pictures, not because of any desire to be sensational, believe me, but merely to help balance the scales of our judgment, to emphasize the almost forgotten fact nowadays that there are other horrible ways to die. Ways, as a matter of fact, that make the instant flash of a nuclear bomb seem merciful by comparison. And keep in mind that these other horrible ways to die are not the result of an event that happened almost a quarter of a century ago. We're talking about events that are happening right now to thousands of helpless human beings somewhere every day, millions every year. And we're not examining the unfortunate byproduct of an effort to bring an end to a long and bloody war. These incredible acts of brutality are the deliberate, premeditated works of men whose sole purpose is the destruction of human life and human values. But we're so saturated with peace propaganda and the specter of the mushroom cloud that we seldom have occasion to ponder these facts. And because of this one-sided exposure, millions of Americans have been conditioned without their even knowing it to fear the horror of nuclear war far more than they fear the terror of a communist peace. The communists have been winning this war because they've mastered the art of total warfare, while we've been conditioned to cower in fearful expectation of a war limited only to weapons of mass destruction. And so, the premise of the grand design starts right off with a faulty assumption. Instead of wondering what might happen if all-out war should develop, we must wake up to the fact that we are in an all-out war right now for our very survival. And instead of allowing ourselves to become afflicted with a nuclear war fixation, we must recognize that because communist strategy is what it is, the chances of this war ever involving an exchange of nuclear warheads is so remote as to be almost incalculable in the overall equation. But that isn't all that's wrong with the grand design. Another fallacy that needs to be exposed once and for all is the absurd conclusion that victory is impossible. Ladies and gentlemen, victory not only is possible, it's inevitable. Let me repeat that because it's so important. If you remember nothing else I've said, remember this. Victory not only is possible, it is inevitable. The only question is, for which side? It's inconceivable that the forces of freedom and the forces of slavery can coexist side by side indefinitely. One or the other is going to triumph in our lifetime. And if you want to satisfy your curiosity as to which side it's going to be, all you have to do is take a piece of paper and a pencil and a graph paper and mark off one side with the year starting 1945. On the other side, using whatever measure you wish, mark the relative level of prestige, power, and influence of the United States and of world communism. Chart the progress through the years right up to the present, and I think you'll find the resulting bar graph to be highly instructive. With hardly any deviation in the line, the power of world communism has been moving steadily upward, while that of the United States has been moving and sinking from one new depth to another. Take a ruler, then, and project both of these lines into the future, and you can see in very graphic form that unless there are some drastic changes in U.S. foreign policy, a policy that's been followed consistently by all administrations and both political parties since 1945, we are going to lose. It's as simple as that. Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not a prophet of doom. I'm not saying that we're going to lose. I'm saying only that in order for us to have any chance to win, we must first wake up to the reality of that grand design that is U.S. foreign policy, and then we must set about to change it. And that, of course, leads us to the third and final question: change it to what?